Hi, this is Corey Franklin with Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently, who've had a profound effect on our society, our history, or our culture. And tonight we're going to start out with Nicol Williamson, the great British actor who died at the age of 75. In America, we know Nicol Williamson primarily for his movies. He was Sherlock Holmes in The 7% Solution. He played Merlin in Excalibur. His performance as Merlin was great. He played opposite Helen Mirren, who had been his girlfriend, before they had a fractious breakup. And the director John Boorman purposely cast them together to get the sparks between them. But in Britain, they know him more for his theater. Nicol Williamson was of the generation of British actors who came of age in the 60s, one of those hard-drinking, hard-acting guys with just absolute brilliance. Think Richard Burton, think Albert Finney, think Richard Harris, and Nicol Williamson belongs right up there with them. He was one of the great actors of his generation, but he did a lot of weird stuff. One time when he was acting in Boston, he broke character and started bitching at the audience in Hamlet. Another time he broke character and stabbed one of his co-stars with a sword. So Nicol Williamson liked to drink and he could be a pretty weird guy. Here's the British perspective on Nicol Williamson from Matthew Bannister of the BBC Four's The Last Word.
Nicol Williamson was acclaimed as one of the finest actors of his generation. He played many of the leading Shakespearean roles, and on screen was Merlin in Excalibur and a drug-addicted Sherlock Holmes in The 7% Solution. The Glasgow-born actor could be mercurial and sometimes aggressive, and was noted for his edgy performances. The drama critic Benedict Nightingale first saw Nicol Williamson as Hamlet in 1969.
Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him, Horatio. Fellow of infinite jest, but most excellent fancy.
There was a sort of toughness, a strength about him. In a funny way, that was the problem with his Hamlet. He was so strong, so vital, so aggressive, so dangerous in a way that you felt, he would have knocked off Claudius by Act Two. And he was sort of striding like a Puritan through the Danish flesh pots, furrowed and angry and resenting things and rancorous. But it was an absolutely mesmerizing performance.
Didn't he actually walk off stage once and apologise to the audience during one of the performances?
Well, that was in America, actually. For some reason, no one really knows why he got angry. He hurled his goblet, Hamlet's goblet, at the back wall, stalked off the stage. Had to be persuaded to go back on, where a bewildered Boston audience did applaud him, and he apologised to them and carried on with the performance. It was all about commitment and danger. He said, you must go to the edge. You must look over the brink at the abyss. And he even said later, I know I'm hated an awful lot of the time, and that's absolutely fine. I don't want you to sympathise with my acting. I am insufferably alive, he said, which means I sink everything into it to make the most compelling total performance that I can. And if it makes you feel destroyed, that's what I want.
I still don't think what you're doing will ever even approach the fibbing, mumbling, pinched little worm of energy eating away in this me of mine, which is that of being slowly munched and then diminished altogether.
One of his most acclaimed performances was in John Osborne's Inadmissible Evidence.
It's about a sort of defeated, sardonic, cynical lawyer on his uppers. Everyone is rejecting him, he dislikes everyone, and he's going to be disbarred, and he's in despair. He got the rage, the contempt, the self-pity, the self-hatred, actually, a degree of compassion. He wasn't lacking in that. And vulnerability, he had that too, I think.
But do you know, when they write to your mother, they never even mention me by name. Dr. Bill, how's Bill? Nothing. Not for 10 years.
It was a great performance. I mean, it made John Osborne himself say that he thought he was the greatest actor since Brando.
But Nicol was known for his hard-drinking ways and had a reputation for being difficult to work with. His son Luke says this wasn't always true.
I know that all the crews of the movies that he worked on absolutely loved him. And most of the directors didn't have a problem with him, too. It was, a lot of times it was, sort of producers where he would run into obstacles. He did things his way. And, and very often, at least as far as the acting went, that was a good decision. But yeah, he could be a bit testy. But mainly he was just, to me, he was my father. He was a really warm, funny, and a tremendously strong, personality.
A Star is Born. I swear to God, that's the name of the picture. A Star is Born. And I would have given the performance of my life.
He had his one-man show about John Barrymore, an actor with whom I think he had a lot in common. Barrymore drank a lot and was, again, a very erratic sort of figure. And during that show, I think he walked off a bit and he slugged the producer, David Merrick, in America. And he slugged an actor during a curtain call. I think when he went to America, all his kind of febrile qualities came out rather strongly.
He didn't like Hollywood. He really didn't. He didn't have an appreciation for, for all the things that sort of went with it. He really wanted to show up on set and give an excellent performance and then go home.
I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow.
He was also a singer, wasn't he? I mean, he was somebody who in his spare time liked to sit down at the piano and bash out some jazz standards or pop songs.
Absolutely. He did it all the time. The last time I saw him, he was playing King Lear in Wales, and it was erratic. He had that strength, but it was very awkward. He forgot a lot of his lines. He sort of muddled things. But they cancelled the second night because they knew that he'd be up sort of raving all night, playing jazz, singing, and he did.
Life is a beautiful thing.
And, everyone was frightfully worried when he went to the White House and performed for President Nixon. Harold Wilson had loved his Hamlet so much he recommended him to Nixon. Apparently, even though he'd been drinking all day and did seem pretty dazed, he pulled himself together. He really could, and he did it extremely well. And he punctuated it with jazz numbers.
What a world, what a life I'm in love.
Music was his first love. He really loved singing. And, I think acting just kind of happened for him. If you saw, Jack, A Night on the Town with John Barrymore, there's a part in that where he sings Nessun Dorma. And I realized, watching him, sing that he could have been an opera singer. I mean, there's so many things that he could have done, he could have excelled at.
All'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. Margaret Carrington, you're a genius!
Wasn't there an occasion when he was playing a suicidal character on stage and he walked out of the theatre and threw himself into the river?
Yeah, I think, according to John McGrath, the dramatist, there he was in Scotland, and he took off his shoes and socks and said, I'm going to kill myself, and ran towards the Tay River and jumped in. And they had to rescue him, saying, sedate Scots way, I mean, you can't go on chucking yourself into things.
That's taking the method acting a little bit too far, don't you think?
I think we can all agree on that.
That was Benedict Nightingale on Nicol Williamson, who's died aged 75.
I love it when the British call somebody mercurial. Generally it means they're a little wacky. But he was a genius, and in closing, I just want to give a snippet of an interview he did with David Frost, where he explained his approach to performing.
Because you love things in life and life itself, and people and friends, and the way that you can actually work to delight people in performance. Because I never think in terms of really standing up on stage or in front of a film camera and giving a marvelous personality performance just to suit my own ego. I mean, I really want to make people feel what it is that the material is saying to them. And in that way, I'm sort of a loudspeaker.
Well, we're going to move on from Nicol Williamson, the great Scottish actor, to the great American food, the Twinkie. Unfortunately, the Hostess Company declared bankruptcy recently, and unless they come out of bankruptcy or spin off the Twinkie will die. You can still get them, but they may be dead. And so this is a little tribute to the Twinkie. Twinkie was born during the Depression in 1933 or 1934, right outside Chicago, here in Schiller Park, Illinois. A nice sponge cake from Chicago that had a banana cream filling. During World War II, the filling was changed to regular cream because bananas were scarce. And the Twinkie has been a junk food staple ever since. Everyone knows the Twinkies last a long time, but in case you're wondering, if you have 45 seconds to kill, you can deconstruct one of them in the microwave. What's in a Twinkie? Well, Nightline did a report on this several years ago, and here's their report with a Twinkie expert, a guy who actually wrote a book on all the ingredients in the Twinkie.
The true all-American dessert is the Twinkie. What it lacks in dignity, it makes up for in taste, of course, and in history. It has been around For 77 years. It lasts that long. Just kidding. But what exactly is in a Twinkie? Well, ABC's John Berman answers that burning question for us.
Howdy, partners. Come on to Hostess Twinkie Town.
When most people look at a Twinkie, they see a small yellow cake, 4 inches long, with cream inside. They see a moist, delicious dessert. But when food writer Steve Edlinger looks at a Twinkie, he sees something more.
I see the mastery of the problems of shelf life, of distribution, of making something in a large quantity while keeping it sanitary, while keeping it uniform.
When I look at a Twinkie, I think golden creamy goodness. I joke perhaps because I didn't know just what was behind that golden creamy goodness. I was naive, like Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
It's trying to fire than a 1,000-year-old Twinkie. What do they put in these things anyway?
Sugar-enriched flour, partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, polysorbate 60, and yellow dye number 5. Just everything a growing boy needs.
Sergeant Al didn't know the half of it.
How many ingredients are in a Twinkie?
39. 39. Now that's counting the vitamins and minerals in the fortified flour.
Ladies, the most versatile dessert ever.
So this golden creamy goodness is pretty complicated.
It's very complicated.
The man of the hour.
Edlinger knows because he did something a little astounding and a little geeky. He wrote an entire book on the Twinkie.
And then my sweet little girl, who at that age still thought Daddy knew everything,
283 pages.
Daddy, where does polysorbate 60 come from?
He spent 5 years as a food detective, traveling the country to track down the source of all 39 ingredients. Hostess didn't exactly cooperate.
even though I didn't reveal any secret, certainly no trade secrets, and definitely I didn't reveal anything shockingly bad.
Hostess turns out 500 million Twinkies every year. 500 million. Each one is made from flour, sugar, corn syrup, things you might expect. And then there are a whole lot of things you might never expect, unless you normally eat glue and rocket fuel. For instance, there is corn dextrin.
It's a great glue. It's the glue you find on the back of envelopes that you lick. It stays dry. When it's dry, it's not so sticky. When it's wet, it sticks right together.
How could you have one and not eat one?
And there is cellulose gum. In the Twinkie, it gives the cream the smooth feel.
It's in a lot of low-fat salad dressings, ice creams, and it's used in rocket fuel to give a slightly gelatinous feel to the rocket fuel. I just love that.
Rocket fuel? It's a strange kind of fun.
And fun is having a Hostess Twinkie. Light.
When Ettlinger laid out a bunch of the ingredients in the Twinkie, it didn't look much like a magical flying Twinkie romp. Nor did it look much like a bakery.
It looks like a chemistry set.
It is. It's like a chemistry set. And I have to tell you, I really enjoyed coming through the airport security with these big rocks.
That's right, rocks. At least 5 rocks go into making a Twinkie. There is trona in the baking soda, limestone in the baking powder, and of course, salt.
Is there anything wrong with the fact that Twinkies have 39 ingredients and are made from rocks and use petroleum?
No, because if there were, there'd be something wrong with all our processed foods. Now, some people don't like that, in which case they can eat more whole foods, fruits, vegetables, and what have you.
I have all real, what I call whole foods, whole grain flours that are unbleached.
We found a woman who makes a vegan Twinkie. It tastes okay, but comes at a cost.
Now, you're talking about shelf life. The shelf life will be much shorter. But
there, she said it. The magic words that make the Twinkie world and the world of all processed foods go round. Shelf life.
In order to get shelf life, you give up something. Fresh eggs, fresh cream, fresh butter. So you need to not only extend the shelf life of the product you're making, but you have to replace those eggs with emulsifiers. You have to replace the butter with flavors.
Twinkies have a legendary shelf life. They're rumored to last longer than their plastic wrappers. That isn't true, but they still can last about a month.
The Twinkie people have managed to keep the filling just so it doesn't get absorbed into the cake. That's a big challenge for a baker.
Hostess had a somewhat metaphysical take on Steve's book. Deconstructing the Twinkie is like trying to deconstruct the universe. Some people look at the sky and think it's beautiful. Others try to count the stars. We think the millions of people who have made Twinkies one of the most popular snacks in American history would agree that Twinkies just taste great.
Eat enough of them and you'll be able to suss out the bouquet of fresh Delaware polysorbate 60 or that fine Midwestern soybean shortening, if not the finest high fructose corn syrup Nebraska has to offer. Twinkie deconstructed. At least now you know what you're eating.
That's a relief.
Well, we're doing the obit for the Twinkie, but everybody knows they're hard to kill, so maybe Hostess will come out of bankruptcy, or maybe they'll spin off the company that makes the Twinkies, and they'll come back just like they always do. I'm going to miss Nicol Williamson, but I think I'm going to miss the Twinkie more if it doesn't happen. Well, I want to thank my producer Sid Tepps, and I want to close tonight with the only song that really does the Twinkie any justice. It's by folk singer Larry Gross, and here it is, Junk Food Junkie.
You know I love that organic cooking, I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural, on down to the health food store. I only eat good sea salt, white sugar don't touch my lips. And my friends is always begging me to take them on macrobiotic trips. Yes, they are. Oh, but night I take out my strong box that I keep under lock and key. And I take it off to my closet where nobody else can see. I open that door so slowly, take a peek up north and south. Then I pull out a Hostess Twinkie and I pop it in my mouth. Yeah, in the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. But at night I'm a junk food junkie, good Lord have pity on me. Well, at lunchtime you can always find me at the Whole Earth Vitamin Bar, just sucking on my plain white yogurt from a hand-thrown pottery jar. And sipping a little hand-pressed cider with a carrot stick for dessert. And wiping my face in a natural way on the sleeve of my peasant shirt. Oh, yeah. Ah, but when that clock strikes midnight and I'm all by myself, I work at combination on my secret hideaway shelf. And I pull out some Fritos corn chips, Dr. Pepper, and a old moon pie. Then I sit back in glorious expectation of a genuine junk food high. Then I just oh yeah, in the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. Oh, but at night I'm a junk food junkie, good Lord have pity on me. Alright. My friends down at the commune, they think I'm pretty neat. Oh, I don't know nothing about arts and crafts, but I give them all something to eat. I'm a friend to old Yule Gibbons, and I only eat homegrown spice. I got a John Keats autographed Grecian urn filled up with my brown rice. Yes, I do. Oh, folks, but lately I have been spotted with a Big Mac on my breath, stumbling into a Colonel Sanders with a face as white as death. I'm afraid someday they'll find me just stretched out on my bed with a handful of Pringles potato chips and a ding-dong by my head. And the daytime I'm Mr. Natural, just as healthy as I can be. But at night I'm a junk food junkie, good Lord have pity on me.